Polls are open this morning for the midterm elections in the U.S., and Adrian Morrow is a U.S. correspondent for the Globe and Mail. He is joining us this morning. Good to see you again, Adrian.
Good to see you, Anne-Marie.
First of all, what are voters saying are the most important issues as they head to the polls?
It's an enormous number of issues. You've got inflation, which is at a 40-year high. Abortion, the Supreme Court basically taking away, protections for abortion, earlier this year. You've got, democracy itself basically on the ballot. More than 300 candidates in these elections across all levels of government are basically buy into the lie that the 2020 election was stolen. About the border, crime, is sort of remaining stubbornly high in some cities, from this pandemic spike. So it's really, you can pick any one of those issues and say, this is a big, substantial issue to fight an election around. And, there's really sort of 5 or 6 of these that are going to define the vote.
Yeah, I mean, it really is in their hands as of today. The Democratic Party currently controls both the legislative houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, so only if narrowly. But going into November, Joe Biden's approval ratings were sitting around 40%, not the lowest that they've been, but still quite low. What are the Democrats' chances looking like?
So it seems very unlikely at this point that they'll manage to hold the House of Representatives. I mean, who knows? The midterms tend to have such low turnout that, you sort of a little bit of a spike, here or there in kind of the right state or couple of states could turn things around. But for the most part, I'd say the smart money right now is on, the Republicans taking the House. I think the Senate is going to be a battle, and we might not even know for a few days, who's actually won there, because some of these races could be quite tight. Looking at Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, 3 states that were crucial to Joe Biden's election victory in 2020, similarly could play a role in basically deciding who, who controls the Senate. And all of those races, at least the polling would tell us anyway, are on a knife edge at the moment. So, I think that's really where the battle is going to be. That the Democrats are going to sort of hope to at least keep control of one House of Congress coming out of this. But yeah, again, it could be so close we might not actually know the result for a few days when they've counted all the mail-in ballots.
Well, that is an important point to keep in mind, right? We may not know as of tonight. Let's take a look into what Biden has done so far in this presidency. So since being elected, his administration has passed bills on climate change, gun control, infrastructure, and fighting child poverty. He also forgave portions of federal student loans and announced pardons for federal prisoners convicted of marijuana possession. In the run-up to the midterm, he has also promised to codify abortion rights for all Americans. So what could losing the House mean for Biden's legislative agenda?
It would basically mean that a bunch of the things that he promised to do in 2020, and that he hasn't managed to get done so far, would almost certainly not get done. So one big one, for instance, is bringing in paid parental leave. That's something that they don't have in the U.S. at the moment. Biden promised it in 2020. He actually tried to get it passed, through the Democratic-controlled Congress. The House, was in favor, but he couldn't get, enough senators on side to get that through. He's also has promised to do more on voting access and basically making it easier to vote. That's something that certainly won't pass the House of Representatives if he loses it. And then, of course, abortion. I mean, he's promised to basically bring in, to codify Roe versus Wade, bring in a national law, essentially reinstating what the Supreme Court took away. And, there's pretty much a 0% chance that would get through a Republican-run House. So essentially it would mean that all of Biden's, legislative agenda, or at least those big social policy things that he has run on, would not be able to get passed. And so he'd probably have to, turn towards it. There are some things on the environment and climate change that either he could do by executive order, or that he could sort of get might be able to get the House on board with, if it means sort of building more, green infrastructure in, Republican-run districts or red states or that sort of thing. There might be some opportunities there, or otherwise, sort of looking to executive order, foreign policy, which is something that fits sort of more under the president's ambit.
Yeah, there's going to be some close races tonight. Indeed, as you point out, Adrian, we may not know the actual results for a couple of days, but lots to watch for in the coming hours. Thanks so much, Adrian.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.